ranging from Paul McCartney to Janelle Monáe. Since 2010, he's penned extensive liner notes and essays for more than 130 CD reissues by Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, Grammy winners, and other icons of R&B, rock, dance, pop, and jazz music. He is the author of Casablanca Records, Played Again, a 50,000-word oral history that celebrated the 35th anniversary of Casablanca Records. Do you all remember Casablanca Records? Yeah, okay. Christian also edited the week-long series, The Women of 20 Feet from Stardom, and Calling Out Around the World, Motown Turns 50. He's a voting member of NARIS and the Dance Music Hall of Fame. Just on a personal note, I want to say that, as I mentioned, Christian and I started working on this. We started this discussion when Nona Hendryx was here in 2013 doing a master class on vocal music, and Christian was one of her guest speakers, and he mentioned Casablanca Records, and I thought, he's a kindred spirit. I think he could probably work with me on the 70s women, music, whatever it is we're going to create, and we clicked. And it has been just an amazing journey putting this evening's event together with him. He is a wonderful individual, and I'm so pleased to welcome him to the stage, Christian John Wikane.
Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Yeah. Oh no. He might look like the average guy, but he's wanted by the FBI. He's dangerous. Do respect the women of the world. Remember, you all had mothers. I only want to say, now I'm going to get choked up. I only want to say, learn the rules if you're going to play. Because the game of life has a new winner every day. How many of you recognize those words? Yeah. Those words have made us dance. They've empowered us. They've inspired us. They've guided us. They've healed our hearts. We owe so much to the women who emblazoned those songs with soul and spirit. That's why we're here tonight. To celebrate 4 extraordinary women, 4 bold soul sisters who set the soundtrack for a revolution in sound and style. Now, usually this is the part where the moderator reads a bio. I'm not going to do that because these ladies are here tonight to tell us their own story in their words. So, ladies and gentlemen, and space children, welcome Kathy Sledge. Nona Hendryx. Yeah. Ruth Pointer. And Rochelle Fleming. Yeah. Woo. Everyone good with the microphones? Hello. We're getting adjusted. Hello. Here. Hello. Hello. Hey. Hello. I just saw you backstage. Welcome, everybody. We have a lot to talk about. So, let's go back to the 1970s. And I want each of the panelists to talk about, briefly, how they were going through transformations or even formations with the groups that you were a part of. Beginning with Rochelle. You were part of a group called the Deponettes that you founded in Philadelphia, and legendary Philly DJ Georgie Woods introduced you to Norman Harris, who was producing everybody, and then introduced you to Stan Watson, who was managing the Delphonics. So how did the Devonettes become first choice? Because that's quite a transition there between the names.
Yeah. Well, Stan Watson felt that the Devonettes was kind of, how they would say now, old school. I don't like that term. But he said that you needed something a little more, a little more young, youthful. And we were all in the office together with Stan, and we just, all of a sudden, it's so amazing even to think about it even now. Somebody said first, and then we all looked at each other. Each girl was like, first what? And then we said, wait, choice! That's it. And that's exactly what happened.
Yes.
It just took off after that.
And then This Is the House Where Love Died became a hit in New York, introduced First Choice to all of the Big Apple, Scepter Records, and Frankie Crocker was one of her biggest champions right away.
Frankie, wow.
Thank you.
Now, another Philly sister, Kathy Sledge.
Hey.
Let's talk about how the Sledge sisters became Sister Sledge, because that's kind of a... Well, there you are.
Where did we get that picture? How did we become sisters? Well,
the way we were named was honestly a mistake. The DJ had a bit too much to drink. We were the Sledge sisters. We were the Sledge sisters. And he was inebriated. He was like, welcome to the stage, Sister Sledge. And my favorite sister, the oldest sister, Carol, Dick Clark used to call her the closet sister, because whenever any of us was on maternity leave, Carol would jump out and take their place. But Carol was with us at night. She's like, that's pretty cool. That has a ring to it. So that's really how it was. Just, I guess, it was an accident, but it was serendipitous. So
And it was destiny.
It was destiny. Yeah.
Yes. Now another sister group. We're going to the other side of the country, to Oakland, California.
Yeah!
Yes. Bonnie and June started Pointer's a Pair, which was a duo.
Yes.
And then Anita joined, and it became the Pointer Sisters.
Yes.
So how did Ruth Pointer join the Pointer Sisters? How did you join your own family?
Well, if you want to know the real story,
Yes,
the Pointer Sisters actually started in my dad's church in Oakland, and they were the Pointer Sisters then, all four of us. And of course, life takes you in different directions. I'm the oldest of the sisters, and I was married, had 2 children, and was doing my own thing, and then came back together with my sisters after they started singing backup in the Bay Area during the late 60s. And they would call me from time to time to fill in because June was having some health problems, and so they would just randomly call me and say, can you come over and do this session with us? Or once they called me to do some singing with Sylvester in North Beach. Yeah, and so I started filling in for June several times, and I was working this little meager job and trying to support 2 children and making $400 a month. And all of a sudden I did a session one night and made $100 in one night. I said, you know what? I think I can do this instead. I said, I like it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And that's really how it happened.
And it looks like they needed you to join in order to take off.
Well, it is history.
Yes. Now, Nona, the transition from Patti LaBelle...
We were not sisters.
Right.
Not birth sisters, not the same mother.
Right. The transition from Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells to LaBelle was pretty significant. So how did you and Patti and Sarah navigate that transition, and what prompted you to even go in a different direction?
Well, we were first the Bluebells, and that was with Cindy Birdsong, and it was the 4 of us. And then Cindy left to join the Supremes after Florence Ballard left the Supremes. And so it was the 3 of us, and we continued on, and we came in contact with Kit Lambert and Chris Stamp, who there's a documentary going to be being released about them now. And they had a record label called Track Records in London. The Who were their biggest act, and then they also signed Jimi Hendrix And so we signed with them through Wikane, and they thought Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells sounded a little old, a bit like the Debonaires, what are you? The Debonaires. And so we settled on LaBelle because it seemed like it was it carried on the Bluebells, it carried on Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, so it carried through. And the transition, we spent maybe about 9 months or a year in England, working with Gene Casey, a pianist, and singing all kinds of songs, from Miss Oda's Regrets through to Wild Horses, a lot of the rock songs that were around. And we began to, we were living in a house together, drinking, playing cards, singing, you know how you do. And eating. Patty would cook, we would sing, we would, hang out, and Casey, every day we would get together and work on songs. And that's how the transition happened in terms of the music, and for the three of us getting comfortable within this new entity called LaBelle, which was meant to highlight us as individuals and no longer be your girl group of the 60s.
Right, and that's very much what all of these women embody, is that they're all sort of autonomous. They, within the group, have their own identity as individuals. They're not just the X or the Eames, they're individuals. And with you, I mean, where are we now? The LaBelle, the first album cover for LaBelle, you're in denim. So, that's a pretty bold look coming from the matching gown. So, what sort of prompted that particular look for you to kind of go and just sort of natural?
Well, it was the end of the 60s going into the 70s, and we had, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, tie-dye, the whole period, afros, and if we were going to change and be more current and do music that would a younger audience would identify with, rather than singing, Never Walk Alone forever and ever, or Somewhere Over the Rainbow, or not that they were, we loved doing the songs, but we've been doing them for a while, and we needed to also look like we were changing, and that was, it was also that we were more, boys were considered a band, girls were considered a girl group, and we wanted to be more of a band, and that way you got paid more like a band. Hello! And we were performing more in rock venues, and so therefore it was much more appropriate rather than wearing, matching gowns, and it just wasn't going to work.
Right. And so by the time you got to the Pressure Cooking album, which was the third LaBelle album, you started to wear more theatrical style costumes, and that album cover sort of depicts that. Mm-hmm. So how did you migrate into that realm of style?
That was, we played like every open door in New York from 70 to 73. I mean, I think I played every place in New York there is to play, large and small. And in doing so, we met a lot of great people, and specifically people who were designers, Larry Legaspi and a great group of guys, and specifically our gay audience were always there for us, and they started to, And Larry Legaspi and Richard Urker and Tony and I forget the other guy's name, they started, saying, let's come up with some ideas for you. And those are some of the earlier things that they did before we went off into space.
Right.
Those are some of the earlier things that they did that were funkier outfits. When you're playing the bitter end, where people are like as close as you are,
right,
and you needed a little bit more, and you're playing New York, so that's where that came from. That was really a need to keep addressing the change that we were making.
Now, along those lines, you became the primary writer of LaBelle, and I'd be interested to know, you didn't write just about love and relationships, but sociocultural concerns and political themes, and Pressure Cooking, Sunday's News, Are You Lonely, Who's Watching the Watcher, Shades of Difference, they all bear this woman's pen, which is amazing. So, at the time, what were some of the social conditions that were drawing you in to write about that in the early 70s?
Well, I mean, they were there. I mean, we had quite a few riots. There was a riot in 1968. There were, still traveling in the South was not a picnic. And having had traveled the South for the early years of what's called the Chippin' Circuit, I knew it very well. Times when we were refused food in restaurants, chased out of restaurants at the point of a gun because we were in the wrong place, not being able to go to the bathroom, staying in what's called, boarding houses as opposed to hotels. I spent, my life had been a part of that, and so it was not something, I wasn't writing about something so much that was current. I was writing about a condition that was systemic in America, and that's where that information came from for me. And having, I didn't know that I could write. When we made that transition to LaBelle, the people who were managing us, again, said, like all the boy bands from England, they were writing their own material. Why don't you write your own material rather than having writers write what you were going to sing? We want you to, be authentic about what it is that you're sharing with an audience. And they said, can anybody write? I said, I write poetry. And they said, well, go home and write something. Right. So that's where that started, and I could only write about my own experience and the community that I lived in and my people in terms of what I saw and how I felt. And that's where those songs came from, that, LaBelle as a group were able to express in our music.
Yes. Well, hats off to you, Nona. Yeah.
So enough about me.
Yes, October 2nd, 1971, there was a revolution on television called Soul Train that debuted. And each of these groups appeared on Soul Train within a 17-month period. So they were all with Don Cornelius and the Soul Train dancers. They were part of this new image on television of young people just expressing themselves in all sort of funky ways, and we got a clip to bring up here. If I was Don Cornelius, and I'm not Marty Pants, first choice.
much for my, oh God.
And that was Joyce Jones and Annette Guest with you in that song,
Yes.
right? Tell us about the impact Soul Train had on your career and the culture at large.
Oh my. First of all, I was a nervous wreck. My manager, Stan Watson at that time, he was best friends with Mr. John Cornelius. And I remember asking, why does he have on so much makeup? That would be me running my mouth as usual. The other girls, oh, you talk. But no, it was quite an experience. I was nervous. I was happy. I was overwhelmed. Just so many things were running through my mind. My classmates at that time, because in Armed and Dangerous, when this album came out, we were marching down the aisle graduating high school in Philadelphia. So we were just all over the place. As we approached Don, he wanted to run over a little, capture the, a little interview to talk with us. And the girls pushed me up there to do the talking. So we were in his office, and he was real nice. He said, so young lady, where did you get that voice? And I said, I was blessed with it. He said, no one taught me how to sing. I said, no, nobody taught me how to sing. I said, I've been singing since I was 5 in the same church today that I go to. He said, then that is a blessing. So at that time, Stan was in the room. He used to tell us everything to say. But of course, I would go past that and say my own thing. To today, I guess, and the girls, we changed girls, every album. We had 6 albums, and for each 2, there was a different girl. But Annette and Annette Guest, the one in the green, we all wanted to sit. But to this day, she and I are really, really like sisters. We've known each other since 9th grade. Like I said, she graduated from Overbrook High in Philly as well. We were walking down the stage, and the song, they were like, there they go, there they go. To this day, I'm just so honored to have been with those girls. They asked me, why do you want to form a girl group? And I told them, I said, I've always wanted to sing with girls. Well, what about your sisters? No, they're too old. But we actually remained friends to this day. We're very close. We may not talk every day, but when we do, it's just like yesterday. And we always go back to Soul Train.
Yes.
Always. First show that we did. Yes, yeah.
Now, for all of you in the audience that have this album, Smarty Pants is on it. That year, First Choice was on fire. I mean, you won Record World's Female R&B Group of the Year, Cashbox Female R&B Group of the Year. And what's great about this is you're really in your own style here. You're in the pants, and you're not wearing the gowns. You were wearing gowns in the clip, but this is a really nice look. So how did you decide to kind of go with this look? On the back of the player, you're in pantsuits and jackets. Tell us about how that came together, as opposed to the gowns.
Well, that actually, we all felt that we had different figures, that we, at that time, we wanted to express our own individual, we just had different thoughts on how we wanted to dress. Soul Train, although they were gowns, but it was 2-piece gowns, and for the stomachs to be out in the 70s, that was like, okay. But, and I always had a problem with that, but as we, like I said, we just said by the time that album was ready, our first question was, are we going to do gowns? Are we going to look like the same color, same, style of gown? And Stan, at that time, manager, he said, well, what do you guys want? And the girl said, you know what? Yeah, we feel like, we all want to change. We want to, let's do some pants.
Yeah.
Let's do some pants.
You are doing it in that photo. Fake.
Oh my gosh, the player. Wow.
Yes.
Thanks again, New York.
Yes.
I tell you, yeah, that's what made us want to just express ourselves as individual artists. collectively first choice, but we had our own style. This particular outfit was done by, it was a young lady in Philadelphia who was starting out, and Stan knew her. And he said, you might make me something for the girls. So I said, well, I don't know if I like the pants. So they said, well, try them on, see what you think. Just try them on. So we tried them on. We said, ooh, okay. But I remember my mom, thank you. She wasn't too happy about the pants. She liked the dresses and the long gowns, but it grew on her after a while.
Yeah, I mean, how could it not? I mean, that's just such a great photo. Now, Kathy, back to Philly. Yes.
I'm wondering if we had the same seamstress. I recognize her.
You know what? I think so.
I did.
I think so.
Well done. I'm serious.
Right around the same time that First Choice was on Soul Train, you and your sisters were recording Mama Never Told Me with Phil Hurt, LeBaron Taylor, Tony Bell. You released Circle of Love in 1974, and what's interesting is that your first big hits were actually not in the States, but international. Mama Never Told Me was the UK. You won the Silver Prize for Love Don't You Go Through No Chains on Me at the Tokyo Music Festival. You were so young at the time. What was the dynamic like between traveling overseas and having to do your homework?
I'm laughing to myself because my sisters used to actually say it. I was an embryo around that time. It was interesting because to this day, I feel like I actually had a life that was really like a real life Hannah Montana. When that show came on, I was like, that's about me. But true, like we had hit records in other countries, and we'd have these huge concerts and people waiting at the airport and all that madness. And then we would go home and get on the bus and go to school. And I learned very early on, don't talk about it. Because you'd be with your girlfriends, what you do this weekend? I went to the mall, I went to the movies. I was in Japan. But it was, but I learned, you get this blank stare, and it was almost as if you were either bragging or lying. So I learned early on, just don't talk about what you do. And I learned to say, I was working this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. But to this day, it helped me always have a balance when you look at it now, because one is your life and one is your work, and your life always comes first. And it helped me to keep that balance.
So one of those trips was in 1974. You went to Zaire for the concert that was promoting the Rumble in the Jungle.
Yes.
And the Hornet Sisters were there too, I think. Yes. James Brown headlined, B.B. King was there, the Spinners.
On that plane.
And we just happened to have a clip to show the audience. Sister Sledge, Zaire, 74. Do we have it coming up?